Hello, everyone. My name is Vikki Jones. We have a phenomenal guest today. Her name is Miss Irene Ford-Smith. Some people may know her as Reverend, and some people may know her from her hosting. She owns or is host of a show, Generationally Speaking, which is very popular, interviews guests from around the world. Again, her name is Miss Irene Smith. Thank you for joining us, Irene.
Thank you so much for having me. And what an experience it is to be on the opposite side of asking the questions. Now I know how all my guests feel when I'm questioning them. So thank you so much.
Oh, indeed, indeed. So I want to jump right in. Irene is an author. She's a new author. She's doing very well. People have been waiting to get a copy of her book. I actually have a copy too. Voila. But what I want to do is jump right into this subject. We're in a climate where there's a lot of attention being brought to the fact that women are have faced some glass ceilings. That's always been around, but there's a lot of attention that has been brought to that. One of the things that I found interesting about your story, and one piece that you shared in your introduction, I guess you could say, in your background, is the ceiling or a little bit of conflict, I guess you could say, that you felt as a woman in your field in ministry. Let me read this piece here on the back of the book. This is where I'm reading from here. And what Irene spoke about, what she wrote or said, is God certainly calls the unprepared and then performs the work inside you to guide and direct. That's a whole other subject. I'm going to sit down here too, because I want to get back to that. But a call I refuse to accept, which is what she's talking about, the work that she had to go into. And but God moves in ways we can never fully understand. I was not fully, this is the sentence, I was not fully accepted into the ministry because I was a woman. I'm gonna say that again. I was not fully accepted into the ministry because I was a woman. And then you said, but God. I want to know about, now I know about, in corporate America, even in the field that I'm in, founders of companies that are women, CEOs, the friction that they have. But one thing that I'd never considered is the ministry and the possibility of a woman receiving friction, or she can feel the vibe that I'm not necessarily accepted because of my gender or because I'm a woman. That happened to you. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yes, that happened to me because there are still men and women today who believe that God does not ever call a woman to be a minister, a woman to be a pastor, a woman to have any leadership role over a male in the church. But when you go into corporate America and other places, you see women who have leadership over a male. But in the church, they have this perspective that they've gotten from Paul, the Apostle Paul, that they hold on to. Mind you, that Paul, when he spoke these words, he says, I, Paul. But we know that when the Savior, the God that we serve, Jesus the Christ, he went out and he was radical. Mm-hmm. He shook it up. So when he shook it up so that women could come right on in and minister. When he decided that he wanted to witness, he went to the woman at the well and she became the first evangelist. So he used her. Those women who were at his gravesite, he used them to go and tell the disciples about his resurrection. So when I interact with men who have problems with my call to the ministry, I don't engage them in any type of discussion. I simply say to them, if you have a problem with my calling, I would suggest that you talk to the Father in heaven. Mm-hmm. And then you and him work it out. Mm-hmm. Why? Because I didn't call myself. God called me. And I'm assured of my calling. But yes, and so now the ceiling that I hit, younger women who are coming through ministry now are not hitting it and facing that wall of resentment, facing that wall that people, men and women, have put up saying you can't. They are now more accepting. However, there are still many denominations and there are still many people who are saying that women cannot be called. But I said to them, if God could open the mouth of a donkey and call him to speak, surely he can use a woman. And again, it was your mother who taught you so many things. So I don't know, you go to school and women teach you. So I'm not sure how they stay on that pathway, but I just put them in God's hand because I know about my calling. I'm assured of who I am.
Right, indeed. Now I'm going to take that same method or the belief that you have and that confidence that you have and apply that just across the board, not just in the ministry, but in secular areas, or like you said, corporate America, and even in politics. Yes, I did hear what you said in terms of leadership by women is everywhere. But there's still some opposition, which is why that subject has came to the table, whether it comes to pay, this, that, and other. What I want to know from you is your advice to women, irregardless of the field, not just ministry. It's just that when it came to ministry, that's something I hadn't thought about. And it was just interesting to read that and see that here on, at least on this piece on the back of your book. But what would be your advice to women across the board, no matter what their field is, that are still feeling that lack of acceptance, but in their heart, they know this is what I'm supposed to do? What would be your advice to them?
So my advice to them is to do what I did. First, I prayed and I asked God, is this where you want me to be? And the answer was yes. Then I prepared myself. I didn't sit in a corner and say, oh, poor me, but I prepared myself. I went to school, I studied, and I did not lose sight of what God had placed in my heart. And I would say to any woman that if you have a passion that's burning inside of you, allow your passion to burn and don't let anyone, anywhere, in your family, outside your family, in your sphere, outside of your sphere, don't let them keep you from moving forward. Yeah, people will, you listen, you might hit some roadblocks, some detours, I'm gonna call them. You might hit some detours and God gonna send you right and instead of going another way. But know that you are gonna meet your goal, you're gonna reach your potential if you keep pushing. But you have to stay focused and you have to continue to prepare yourself, because once you get to where you're going, you wanna make sure that you can stay. And you can stay because you got the smarts and you know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Nobody gave it to you. And listen, in everything, learn something. Even from your worst critic, learn, study them, learn something. And God is going to allow you to use that to propel you to where he's taking you.
Okay, now did you guys hear that? I know I took some nuggets from that. You do not let anyone hinder, no matter your circles, family members, you move forward. Whatever's in your heart, you do that. You move forward, you take action. Now, I'm going to cut this piece here. You got the books behind you. Why'd you write the book? Why'd you write the book? For those that are watching and for those that are listening, Some Glad Morning, you can purchase a copy of this. Let us know where people can purchase a copy of this book, Irene.
VMH Publishing, that platform. I'm thankful for that. You also can go to Barnes & Noble. You also can go to Amazon. And of course, you can contact me directly at onegenerationallyspeaking@gmail.com. Hey, I'll make sure you get a signed copy.
Okay, so now let me do this piece here, because I'm a person that's definitely for the independent platforms. And the number one platform where we want to go and purchase this book, let me put this up here a little bit closer. Where we want to go and purchase this book is from the author. That would be Miss Irene Smith, who's sitting right here in front of us. So where we can go and purchase a copy of her book at this time is through email. Email onegenerationallyspeaking@gmail.com. The number one, generationallyspeaking@gmail.com. Am I correct?
That's correct. And if you are on social media, you can contact me on Facebook and DM me. And listen, we'll talk and I'll make sure you get a copy.
Google
Irene Smith.
Google Generationally Speaking Irene Smith. You'll find the way to her. She has copies of this book. You can see them behind her. It's a great book. And now let me jump into that and to this other piece. And I think she did mention also the publisher has copies, but these are the ones that she have are elegant hardback copies. I have a copy here, but the publisher also has paperback copies of it at vmhbooks.com. You can get them there as well. And then we will, for those that may want to go out beyond author and publisher, obviously, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart, and other bookstores are available too. But the point is, grab your copy of her book. Why'd you write the book, Irene?
Well, I started writing because it was lethargic to me, that I didn't realize how much I had absorbed the energies of those that I had given out to in ministry, those who had experienced the death, the transition of their loved one through COVID, through suicide, through tragic accidents. And so when I started to write and I began to pour out all that that I had inside of me, the words started to just leap out onto the page. And I realized that it was something that I needed, not only for myself, but I needed to share with others, because I'm the eulogist at my church. And I've done eulogies, 2 eulogies in a day. I come from a mega church. I've done eulogies 2 and 3 times in a week. I've done eulogies, on a constant and consistent basis. And so I realized that while I thought I had released a lot of it, I realized that I was still holding on to a lot of it. And so when I allowed the Spirit to move me to put it on the page, when it came on the pages, that was my release. That was my release. And so as you read the book, I tell people, as you read the book, as you turn the page, as you turn each page, you will cry. As you turn the page, you will rejoice in knowing how blessed you are. As you turn the page, you will be reminded of how important family and friends are. As you turn the page, you will realize that you are blessed. As you turn the page, you will decide, listen, I'm going to pursue my passion. I'm going to empty myself before I take my last breath. I'm going to pursue it all. I'm going to empty myself. So when I'm laid to rest, nothing else is laying out there. No dreams, because I pursued my dreams. No passions, because I pursued my passion.
All that, isn't that something? So each page, as the reader is reading, although they're on this journey with you and you're releasing a lot of what was stored that you didn't know was there, what it's also doing is helping readers to see, to open up to, you know what? I'm going to pursue that thought that I had, because I do not want to take that from this earth with me. I really do want to do that. And this encourages them and inspires them to do so. So you've been having some great success, we're hearing, with this book.
I have been having some great success with this book, and it's just been a blessing to hear people. I've spoken to a couple of people even today who have shared with me that they are buying multiple copies to share in their reading group. I've spoken with persons today who said, you know what, I was reading this chapter and I thought about something that happened in my family. I was reading this chapter and I decided, you know what, there's some relationships that need to be mended. I was reading this chapter and I just cracked up laughing because I felt like I was right there with you. And you taught me so much and you opened my mind up to so many things that I just never thought about. And so it's just been a blessing, to share and to hear the feedback of others as they are reading the book. And one man told me that he had read the book already, but he was getting ready to reread the book because there was still some more nuggets. He said, I appreciate the scripture that you have at the end. He said, I'm going to reread it again. He said, I've learned something. I've learned something about how to even speak to someone who has suffered, experienced a tremendous loss. And it is for those who have experienced tragedy, it is a great read for them. It is a healing for them.
And so, okay, so now just in case for those that are listening and for those that are viewing, just in case you have not came to the conclusion, and I think Irene was quite clear, is that she's performed a number of eulogies at her. How long have you been a eulogist? How many years?
Well, so as a minister of the gospel, we are all called to do eulogies. But this specific assignment, I've been doing this assignment for the past several years. And so in doing this assignment, when I first received this assignment, I was like anybody else. Wow, eulogies, I'm not sure. But it has been such a tremendous—
That's the first sentence. And then it's on this back. You're like, really? Wait a minute. This was, wait a minute. Are we sure about this piece? Okay, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, are you sure about this? But that's what God does. He calls you and then he prepares you. And so I've learned and I've grown over these past several years of being called to not only eulogize, but to sit down with the family and to provide grief and sorrow support to family members and friends from across the United States. And I've eulogized those who are well known and those who are not. And it's just been a blessing for me and a learning experience that I thank God for the opportunity. And now I share that now with the reader that picked up the book.
Okay, so now, clearly, for the average mind, that could be viewed as a task or a job, wait a minute, met with severe resistance. I cannot do that, is the mindset for the average person. But as you put in your sentence, this first sentence here on the back of this book that I'm reading, God certainly calls the unprepared, then he performs the work inside you to guide and direct so that you can do it. Now, again, I'm going to take that principle and your experience and apply it across the board outside of this field or this area of work that you were called to, which is a very sensitive, delicate line of work, because you have to be a unique person when people are when their heart is aching in such a way. And that is one where initially the thought is, I can't do that. How many people in the world have things in front of them that they know they should be doing, but feel, I can't do that? And that's across the board. Your assignment, it wasn't like your whole life plan was, this is what I'm going to do in life. This is what I want to do in life. You know, some people may feel that way, and so there's nothing wrong with that. But that was not the course in your, And so when you were faced with it, clearly the first human thought would be that, but you did it. There are people right now, and this is something that I think we would like to hear from you in terms of when we're faced with something that we feel we cannot do, what do we do? How do we make it happen, come to a place of acceptance, and then going into the task, whatever it may be? It could be a leadership job at starting a business, losing 40 pounds. I don't know. I can't do that. Oh God, it's too hard. Write a book. Oh, I can't do that. How do I? It's impossible. What is your advice? What are your thoughts?
My advice is, and my thought, I am taking some classes, pursuing my master's, and I was given an assignment by one of my instructors to write a 60-page paper in the midst of a pandemic. The libraries are closed. And so everything that you get has to be virtual, on site. You got to go to the library in a different way. You got to do research in a different way. When I first received the assignment, I was like, really? And I think that's the first thing that we get when we are faced with an assignment that we are uncomfortable with, the first thing that we say is, really? And that really is, when we say really, it's the doubt. It's the doubt that says, do I have the ability to do it? That's the doubt. Why is this person giving me this assignment? That's more doubt. But I said, after I said, really, I said, okay, I can get it done. Now, I think across the board, when the difficulty comes, we have to look at the assignment. We have to assess it. That's what I had to do. And then, as I was taught, you can't eat an elephant in one bite. You got to nibble at that joker. Mm-hmm. So when you have these, when you at these major life moments, and you've been given an assignment, or you've been given a position, and you are uncomfortable, because it's uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. If it was comfortable, you would, I can do it, but it's uncomfortable. Just know now that you're being stretched, and that inside of you, you have the ability to achieve, but you've got to assess it. And after you make the assessment of what do I need? What is required of me? And then find out, where do I go to get the information from? If you're on a new job, and you've given a set of tasks, you ask, oh, by the way, where are the files on this particular assignment? Where are the files on? You go talk to people, you go read, and then you listen, because you can learn a lot in listening. And you take notes, and you outline a plan of action, and then you follow the plan. But now in making your plan of action, be flexible. Don't be inflexible. Be flexible, because you're gonna hit a bump. And when you hit a bump, it's just a bump. Don't worry, it's just a bump. You can move past it. You will hit those bumps, and those bumps are teaching you something, that the next time you hit that bump, it's familiar. And so you move forward. You assess, you dig and learn, get all the background information that you can get. Okay, you sit and you interview and you talk to people, you learn from them, and then you move forward a step at a time. And then you make sure you go back and you make sure that you're staying on track. You make sure that you're doing what is being asked. And don't be offended when people criticize, because constructive criticism can help you to grow. Mm-hmm. Don't get upset when people make statements. Listen to the statement. As the old people used to say, hey, chew the meat and spit out the bone. Whatever the meat is that you need to take it. Okay. And then don't take it personally. Mm-hmm. When you're in a professional environment, you carry yourself professionally at all times. Don't lose your cool. And if you feel you're losing your cool, step away. Mm-hmm. Step away, because you are going to carry yourself professionally. Because listen, you are in that role. I don't know how you got there, but you are in that role, and you can perform. You just got to assess it. You got to learn everything that you can, and then you got to make a plan of action and then move forward.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Now, I hope that everyone was able, you said, now that was several nuggets, guys. You may have to rewind and hear this whole piece that she just said again. I know I have to, or look at it again. But the reality is, just like she said, those are great pieces of advice for when you're faced with things that it seems you can't do. If it's there in front of you, yes, you can. It would not be there in front of you unless you were not equipped, ready, and prepared for it. Now, you may have to add some more, like she said, like Irene said, which is do some research, listen to people, get you a plan of action, but you are built for whatever is in front of you if it's there, and you know it's something that you have to do, but you just can't figure out how. So we thank you for that advice there, Irene. It really is one that we can definitely use. You have some comical areas. She has some comical areas. This book, okay, now, read the chapter. I'm just gonna read the title. Now, again, she, wow. Okay, so the eulogist has been a part of her journey. And in a minute, because I do know we only have a limited amount of time, I would like to know, or I'm pretty sure we would like to know going forward. This book looks like it's opened up so many opportunities, and some other things may come into play. But for where you've been up to this point, your journey has been incredible. I mean, and to me, because I do know your works, obviously, outside of this interview, you're a superwoman. You got to go. It's what it is. And your personality just draws people. So I can see why this book is doing very well. You do. But there are some comical areas in this book. It would be perceived as a very heavy topic because of her work, but she takes us on a journey where it's not so heavy. It's thought-provoking, there's laugh, like she said, crying. Listen to this one chapter, chapter 7. She's talking about the viewing. When there's the viewing. The title says, it's possible to be cut at the viewing. So she's telling it like it is. I'm not going to tell the chef read the book, or because you do have to, buy a copy. But she's making it clear that it is possible at that viewing that you will get cussed out. So Irene, what is that about? And it's funny because people would think that would come from that particular service, that we wouldn't think that. I didn't think that.
Well, I think that a lot of people, when you're not integrally involved in homegoing services, you think, oh, they're all this, one homegoing service, one funeral is just all the same, but they're not. Mm-hmm. And so in our community, we have what we call the viewing. Now, that's not in every community, but in our community, we have what we call the viewing. And that's when people come to, view the deceased and to speak to the family. Well, people are coming from all over and with all kinds of perspectives and thoughts, and they come all kinds of ways. So they're already, sometimes they're on edge, sometimes they're lit in a whole lot of ways. Sometimes they come and there's some family drama that maybe you're not aware of. And so one word from an usher, one word from anyone associated with the funeral home, the funeral directors, can put the whole thing on edge. Or if there's some friction in the family and somebody comes through and it starts a whole snowball effect. And so people will lose their cool and forget about where they are, and that they're there to respect this person. And they just they'll cuss out everybody, including the eulogist. Our responsibility, though, is to remain cool. Our responsibility is to help them, to bring them off the ledge, to bring them down and let them know we understand that they're hurting. Mm-hmm. We understand that they're hurting. Mm-hmm. And we're here to pray with you. We're here to comfort you. We just need for you now to just calm down. And if you allow us, we'll make sure that everything that you're feeling, that we'll help you to navigate it. But it is that place where people are coming in and they're on edge. Their emotions are raw.
Right. Now, I just have to read a little excerpt, because you see this kind of stuff on TV, but and some comical areas. I think maybe Tyler Perry, one of the movies. But this really happens. Okay, so I'm just going to read a few, just a little quick excerpt here, and then we're going to move on. This is, I'm reading from Some Glad Morning, which is available. Again, you can email Irene to get your copy. This particular copy, you're not going to be able to get this type from Amazon, Barnes and Noble, so forth and so on, because she does have a marker here, which is quite splendid. It complements the book, to keep your bookmark there. But anyway, this one excerpt where she says, she's written, I remember the time a brother and mother of the deceased showed up late. The brother and the mother. And people, I guess people have, anybody asked you, were you talking about me or so-and-so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So I remember the time a brother and mother of the deceased showed up late. The service had started and we had moved past the tributes. However, the brother wanted to speak and give his brother honor. As we sat listening to this older man give tribute to his brother, the direction of his remarks changed. He began to berate the deceased man's wife and express how much he hated her because she was no good and had isolated his brother from his family. So at this point, I mean, I was getting ready to say everyone was looking at me and wonder what was I going to do? What did you do? Or do you want us to read it in the book?
So these things happen.
You could get a control of the situation. Wait a minute, this is going.
And when these things happen, the team, they all look at me like, okay, what are you going to do?
Wow.
And so what I did was I motioned to everyone to just sit and be still. Let him finish out his statement. Let him go ahead and speak these words that he has harbored in his heart for all these years, that I don't know if he shared it with his brother when his brother was living, but here is his brother's wife, and they've been married for, more than 10 years. And there she is sitting on the front row and she's mourning her husband. And then this happens. So I said, everybody, I motioned to everyone for them to be still. Let him finish. Don't worry. Because I knew that when I came up, the Spirit had already spoken to me, that when I came up, I was going to make sure that I spoke what the Spirit said, that everything would be fine.
Wonderful. And it takes a unique individual in sensitive situations like that to be able to bring calm, to be able to bring order and to restore. Right. While at the same time, this other individual feels the need to get something out or whatever it is. So that is very, very commendable in situations, because I think people, well, I know I do, wouldn't think of all those details that someone in a position such as yourself has to address at those times. So let's switch subjects here. So where are you going from here? The book has begun to open up all kinds of opportunities, and we suspect, based on what I'm seeing, that there's going to be more. Where are you going and going forward? Do you have, what is it, your goal? Now that people are excited about it, people want more, they're going to do studies from it, more copies are coming in. So what are your goals now?
Well, I am excited about the doors that God is opening for me. I have been already asked to participate in some book reading groups, reading portions of the book and sharing and answering questions, as well as I will be having some book signings, and I will be accepting invitations to come out and to speak publicly about Some Glad Morning. As well, I am writing on my next book, and I thank God for that. So God is really opening up many opportunities, and I plan to walk through the door of all the opportunities that He presents, and I'm excited about it. And I would say that to anyone, that when God speaks, walk through the door. Don't worry about, and I know what we worry a lot about, what we don't have, but God will provide. He will. And so I'm just excited about Some Glad Morning and the opportunity that it is presenting itself for me to be on many national and international platforms. That's what I'm speaking aloud. That's what I'm saying. And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that it's opened the opportunity for me to share more of my writings. So I'm excited about the next journey.
And indeed, and I think too, just to add to what you've said in terms of the national and the international, I suspect in the society where we are right now, there are leaders around the world that are trying to bring calm to the earth and to humanity, where there's a lot of social issues that are spruing up everywhere. People are on edge about cases of justice and outcomes. people are concerned about COVID and it spreading or flaring back up, and so there's a lot of areas. And then also people are excited about new endeavors. Some of the things that you brought up that they think or thought, what, I want to get back, I want to kind of streamline into purpose versus just living. I want my life to actually make a difference. So people are coming back to that place as well. And your book, Some Glad Morning, adds value and guides people through your stories, some of the stories that you shared within your book, into that place. So what is your overall thought that you want to share with people as we get ready to conclude our conversation today?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that if you have not been vaccinated, that you would give thought to that, to vaccinations, because I had to eulogize a number of persons through the initial, in the early period of COVID, when everything was shut down, and we had to be at the gravesite and standing at the gravesite with just a casket and maybe four family members, no flowers, no nothing. Then when they allowed us to go inside the funeral homes with maybe 10 people, 5 people, seeing wives sitting there with chairs between them and their children. And I would say to you, please give thought to making sure that you at least give some serious consideration to being vaccinated, because it impacts not just you, but it impacts your whole family.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say that. Secondly, I would say that if you have a dream, if you have push, if you have a desire, push. If there's a passion inside of you burning, this is your season. This is your season to step up and step out. Don't wait. This is your season. Tomorrow it's not promised. This is your season. Go for it. And lastly, I would say, enjoy life. This book, Some Glad Morning, says, enjoy life. Make great memories. Make great memories. That's it.
I love the purple, the color that you have on. Why that color?
Well, I was going to wear pink, but pink was going to clash with what I got behind me, so I wore the purple. So I thought I'd bring it all together. If you don't know me by now, I do love color. Mm-hmm. I do love color. I do love color, even though I was directed to wear certain colors, but I do like color.
Now, one of the things that I'd like for you guys that are listening and that are viewing is for you to go over to Generationally Speaking there. Just Google that on YouTube. Irene's show is phenomenal. Her vast variety of guests there and the information that they have and the way that she gets the information out of them and the conversations that they have. People are open and willing to share with Irene as a host. Go over and check out Generationally Speaking. How can people find out? Now, I know Generationally Speaking is on YouTube. I see the traveling and the series, some of the series, and there's a number of shows that are there that have been there for a couple of years. And there's no bearings when it comes to just people, it's humanity. And you can see the variety of conversations that are there as well. So how can people find out more about the show? Tune into the show, and then we'll wrap it up one more time with folks and how they can actually go and buy a copy of the book.
Okay. So to see Generationally Speaking, you can go to our YouTube channel, Generationally Speaking, and put in Irene Smith. You'll see my face come up smiling, so you know you're there. As well as you can catch us every Wednesday night at 9:30 on the nownetwork.org. And if you would like to participate or be a guest, we invite you to send an email directly to me at onegenerationallyspeaking@gmail.com.
I just hope that you are ready for the flood of folks that you said, can I be on your show? She's very particular. Things are a certain way. She really does care about the guest. and the conversations. And, it's a phenomenal show. So go check it out. And also make sure you go and buy a copy of Some Glad Morning. Generally speaking is at the top of my mind.
Yeah.
Show. Some Glad Morning. You can email Irene. We really do love for you to support the author independently. That's the season, as you put out, that we're in right now. That's what's happening right now. The world is really, really supporting the independent and buying product. We're in the holiday season. Even after that, get a couple copies for family members, for yourself, for friends, and email Irene at onegenerationallyspeaking@gmail.com. The number one, generationallyspeaking@gmail.com. Or you can go and get the paperback copy. You won't get this, but that copy at vmhbooks.com. And of course, for those outside of that, you can always shop at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Irene, thank you so much for speaking with me. You've been a great guest. And so you can do both sides.
Yes. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this conversation.
Indeed.